Ancient Greek architecture is a topic that scopes a large variety of effects on civilian life, but also on these civilizations and how in itself grew as an influence. While yes, the ancient Egyptians and other ancient civilizations, such as the Romans, have introduced and constructed amazing feats of architecture in their own respects, Greek architects have provided some of the most distinctive and finest buildings in all of ancient history. Works from Greek architects such as Iktinos, Callicrates, and Carpion influenced all kinds of works throughout Greek culture and even beyond. Some of these structures include temples, theaters, and stadia. These new structures and architectural designs ended up influencing staple structures. So the Greek concern with simplicity and proportion, perspective, and even harmony in their buildings greatly influenced architects in the Roman world. These ideals went on to provide the foundation for the classical architecture which dominated the Western world. So when talking about the development of structure in Greek architecture, we start with the main 5 orders of classical architecture. An order, specifically, is a combination of a certain style of column with or without a base, but more simply, it's just how we classify different architectural approaches. Greek architects mainly use the 3 that we focus on. Those 3 first orders are Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. Those are what we see throughout Greece's history. The recurring ideals used in these orders by Greek architects were 1. The idea that public buildings should not just fulfill their typical function of housing a statue of a Greek deity, but to also have meaning and function. And as well as 2, the idea that not only should these structures be admired from close up or from the inside, but also that they should be admired from afar. The first example that we have of this is temples. Temples are the arena in which the influence of Greek architects shines most clearly. A good example is the Parthenon. The Parthenon is one of the most well-known Greek temples. It was constructed between 447 and 432 BC, and it was dedicated to the city's patron deity, Athena. But, in addition, the temple was constructed with decorative and structural elements as it was intended to proclaim to the world the success of Athens as a leader and a coalition of Greek forces. This specifically shows that not only it was built as a temple of great praise to honor Athena, but also to portray the superiority and greatness of the civilization itself. The Acropolis is another example of these multi-purpose buildings. It was built on a hill in the middle of the city of Athens. It was built with strategically placed stone walls that surrounded the structure, and it was originally built as a citadel. But it was also built with the intention of being able to be used as a fortress where the people could retreat when the city was under attack. So later on, many temples and buildings were built in areas similar to overlook the city. So next we have theaters, which is another great example of these architectural feats. And specific example being the Odeon of Herodes Atticus, a stone theater structure in Athens. So these large theaters date back architecturally to the 6th century BC and could hold over around 10,000 people. They were usually built into the side of a hill and were designed with acoustics that allowed even the back rows to hear the actors. Events such as plays, sporting events, and even public addresses were held in these theaters. These same Greek architects also built covered walkways called stoas, which were located in or around these arenas where merchants would either sell goods or where people would hold public meetings. It's pretty similar to food or drink stands at an NBA or NFL stadium. Other public buildings that these stadiums kind of influenced were gymnasiums, courthouses, council buildings, as well as sports stadiums. Lastly, we've got specifically stadiums, and the best example of one of these stadiums is being the Stadium of Olympia. Stadiums involved more complex structures, such as rows of stones, marble steps, in order for functional seating, as well as the open arena that the athletes and civilians would use. All in all, I think we can see the great influence Greek architects and architecture has had throughout history, especially in succeeding ancient civilizations. Greek architecture as a concept is hard to summarize in just 4 to 5 minutes considering its depth, but there's no denying that the Greeks, 1, adopted a new perspective when approaching architecture, and 2, what these advancements represent when talking about a perspective on a country's civilization and its appearance. Thanks for listening.